4 landing lights. The lights are green, and the outside is all metallic. What type of aircraft would you think of with these kinds of descriptions? More than 40 years ago, a pilot reported these descriptions of an unidentified aircraft following him before having his communications cut off and completely disappearing. Until today, no definite answer has been found as to what happened to him, but the clue he gave in his last radio transmission helps to tell us something. Hi, welcome to our channel. In this video, we're going to talk about the mysterious disappearance of Frederick Valentich, who was just supposed to travel on air for about 70 minutes. The search for Frederick or his aircraft has remained unsuccessful until this day. But could his last radio transmission really solve his disappearance? Before we uncover the full details of Frederick's last radio transmission, what are your assumptions about the unidentified aircraft that he has encountered so far? Tell us what you think in the comments below. Frederick Valentich was an Australian pilot who went missing during a training flight in a small Cessna plane. This happened on October 21, 1978, over Bass Strait. He was 20 years old and had an interest in UFOs. While flying, he told air traffic control in Melbourne that there was another aircraft above him and that his engine was having problems. Eventually, he said, "It's not an aircraft." The only thing that was left behind as a clue was a radio conversation between him and Steve Roby, who worked at Melbourne Air Flight Service. Let's go over the full details of Frederick's flight and disappearance. On May 11, 1978, the pilot earned a Class 4 instrument rating. This allowed him to fly at night when the weather was clear. On the afternoon of October 21, 1978, he went to the Moorabbin briefing office. There he got information about the weather, and at 5:23 p.m., filled out a plan for a nighttime flight with good weather conditions. The plan was to fly from Moorabbin to King Island and back. In the flight plan, he said he would fly at an altitude lower than 5,000 feet. He estimated it would take him 41 minutes to reach Cape Otway and 28 minutes to fly from Cape Otway to King Island. He calculated that he had enough fuel to fly for 300 minutes. He didn't arrange for the lights at the King Island landing area to be turned on when he arrived. He told the briefing officer and the operator's representative that he was picking up friends on King Island. He also brought 4 life jackets on the plane with him. Afterward, there were different stories suggesting that his journey to King Island was actually for collecting crayfish, not for picking up friends. The report also noted that he took off from Moorabbin at 1,819 hours, which means 6:19 p.m. local time. He reached the Cape Otway region 41 minutes later. After that, at 7:06 p.m., he used his radio to communicate. At 7 p.m., Valentich used the radio to ask if there were any known planes in the area, right after something flew past him very quickly. Roby told him that they didn't have any information about other planes in that area and asked what kind of aircraft it was. "I'm not sure. There are 4 bright lights. They look like landing lights to me. The plane has just flown over me at least 1,000 feet above," Valentich said. As the conversation continued, things got even scarier. Valentich feels that the mysterious aircraft was playing some sort of game. He then added, "He's flying over me 2 or 3 times, going at speeds that I can't figure out." The talk goes on, and the controller keeps asking for more details about the object. Valentich says the object is lengthy, made of metal, and has a green light. At one moment, the object disappears and then suddenly comes back on the other side of his plane. Then, in his last really frightening words, he says, "Ah, Melbourne, that strange craft is hovering on top of me again. It's hovering, and it's not an aircraft." After that, there's no sound for 17 seconds before the transmission stops suddenly. The final sighting of Frederick and the rented Cessna 182 was at Cape Otway before they disappeared. After that, they were never seen or heard from again. Despite a thorough search, no remains of the aircraft were ever discovered. What are your thoughts on Frederick's disappearance so far? Comment below. As we continue, we're going to take a closer look at Frederick's last few words in his radio transmission with Roby, as mentioned previously. He described seeing 4 bright lights that resembled the lights used when landing an aircraft. He couldn't figure out what kind of plane it was, but he mentioned that it was moving incredibly fast and seemed to be playing some sort of game with him because it was flying over him multiple times. The part of the radio conversation that the newspaper shared said, "Flight service acknowledges and reports a kind of metallic noise over the radio before communication was lost." A UPI report described the noise as similar to a metallic scratching, like the engine was making a sound of choking. The incident caught the attention of people all over the world and led to many theories, with the most popular one suggesting that Valentich was taken by a UFO. Some people believed that he might have faked his death or that he was flying his plane upside down, and the lights he saw were his own plane's lights, reflecting on the water just before crashing. After the story became known, there were conflicting reports about why the inexperienced pilot was flying to the island. He had initially told his father that he was going to catch crayfish, but later told flight officials that he was picking up friends. Even more questions arose about Valentich's intentions when it was revealed that he hadn't informed King Island Airport that he planned to land there. Some people suggest that Frederick's limited experience as a pilot makes it hard to accept the idea that a UFO was flying alongside him that night. They believe that his lack of knowledge might have caused him to mistake the aircraft for something else. To add to that, in an eerie coincidence, it was found out that Valentich had a strong interest in UFOs. He had watched many movies and collected articles about them. Frederick's father, Guido Valentich, also believes that a UFO was involved in his son's disappearance. In an interview days after his son's disappearance, Guido expressed his belief that his son might have been taken by beings from another planet. He used phrases like, "someone from another world," and suggested, perhaps they want to keep him for about a week before bringing him back. So has Frederick's last radio transmission contributed to any of the searches that were conducted? In 2014, a researcher working independently claimed to have found evidence indicating that the 20-year-old Cessna might have been seen flying in the sky above South Australia, connected to a UFO. The Victorian UFO Action Group is seeking assistance in identifying a farmer near Adelaide who saw a 30-meter-wide object hovering above his land in the morning, following Mr. Valentich's disappearance. According to the claim, the Cessna was attached to the side of this object, and there was evidence of oil leaking from the plane. The farmer supposedly even wrote down the plane's registration number on his tractor. However, he never came forward with this information because the few friends he confided in ridiculed him. The main investigator, George Simpson, who was among the last individuals to witness the plane in the air, mentioned that if the farmer is still alive, he might hold valuable information to unravel the mystery. Although there's no concrete evidence, Simpson acknowledged that this was the most promising new lead in a case that has captivated Australians for many years. Simpson stated, "Some might find it easy to brush it off, but there are other accounts that support the presence of a UFO near Adelaide during that period." However, after some investigation, experts concluded that the most likely reason for Valentich's disappearance was his confusion. Because he was a new pilot, he might have been tricked by the way the horizon looked. When the sun goes down, part of the horizon stays bright, while the rest becomes darker. This difference in brightness can make the horizon seem slanted, and a pilot might adjust the plane's path because of this illusion. If the plane's nose points downward, it gains speed and enters a dangerous spiral known as a graveyard spiral. Instead of focusing on his instruments, Valentich got distracted by what he believed was a UFO. This distraction turned out to be a dangerous mistake, leading him to lose his sense of direction and control over the plane. After Valentich's last flight, a lot of details have been written about what might have happened. Some think a UFO was part of it. Others consider the possibility of suicide. And some think he purposely vanished. Yet since there's no proof, not even the plane's wreckage, people will keep coming up with theories about what really occurred in Frederick's puzzling disappearance. What are your final thoughts on Frederick's disappearance? Are you convinced that it was a UFO sighting? Tell us what you think in the comments below. If you enjoyed watching this video, hit the like button, click subscribe, and make sure to ring the notification bell. Thanks for watching.